There, that's more like it. All right. So we have the solar panel. We look down at the top. Now what you're seeing, that bit of blur down there, is because this entire area has a, there's specularity, there's shine on stuff. And to get rid of the shine, first let's give this a material and take the specularity down. Get rid of that. You can give this a color. That's without the texture. You're seeing in the solid, you're seeing the texture because of the UV unwrapping we did. If you want to see a texture under texture, oh, there is a texture there. All right, and in material, what you do is you click on texture and you tell it to use an image, and the image that we're going to use is the Google satellite image, and there it is. All right, so that image is now textured onto it. All right, so the Greenberg Hebrew Center has a solar panel on it, and all of these, by the way, need to have their specularity brought down. Like this one here, the DEM, we've already brought the material specular down to 0, but the Google map is still got a shine. You see that shine right there? So I want to take that out, and that should do it. All right, so the solar panel is there. It's kind of looking wrongly rotated, so I'm going to take the object origin and put it to geometry, which puts it in the center, and then I'm going to rotate to make this match, and then move it. And also we need to know where south is. This is the Hudson River flowing from north New York to south, so the solar panels are put facing south, like that. And while we haven't got the right roof shape, we at least have something like a roof shape. And it's a little bit awkward to try to figure out what the right rotation should be, since there's a contour on the landscape. But if I rotate this in the y-axis right now, I can tilt it kinda flat for the building. And once you have one solar panel, we want to put a whole bunch on the building. So with this selected, you go to a modifier and you take array, and you tell it, as you can see, it's starting to make more than one, but it's putting them too close together. I want a whole bunch of them. So I click on the count. But I also want to offset them a little bit in the, what is this? This is the X direction there. And so this is X. So there, now they have a bit of offset, and then I can move this over like that. And if I want to cover the rest of the roof with it, let me move this up a little bit and use G. And now I can do my rotate just slightly up like that. I can also do an array in the, let me see, I should apply this array and then add a modifier to that and do a displacement not in the X direction, but in the Y direction. Except it should be the negative 1.2. There we go. And if I do that, then I can click on it and get more count. And then I have a roof that is got a whole bunch of solar panels on it, and I can move them down a little bit better and rotate them a little bit better. So there they are. And now move it down to the center of the roof. And so we've put solar panels on the roof of the Greenberg Hebrew Center. Not exactly as they are in real life, and that would take a little bit more design work to actually make them look like the way they are in this picture or the way that they were in this picture here, because there's two actual levels of it, and you could put all the other widgets and air conditioners and stuff. But we at least have got a start, a suggestive start for the solar panels. And you can do the same thing, basically. Let me save this. We can do the same thing for my apartment in Draper Lane. We can go over here. I'm going to apply this to this array here, but I'm going to go back into my bank of solar panels here, and the light, where's the actual panels? There they are. They're down there at the origin. I'm going to copy this one, Shift Delete. I've got this one here. I'm going to go to View Active, Show Active. I'm going to call this, rename it Solar Panel Draper Lane, and I'm going to move it to the front layer. Go back to my front layer, and there it is. So I'm going to move it, that solar panel, over to Draper Lane, and I'm going to look at it from the top, and of course it got off. So move it on to my apartment building, hit the period to get there. Not too bad. It actually came in the right size, which is interesting. It came in what a real solar panel would look like, and facing south, because that's the way the building goes. And now I'm going to add that modifier, which is the array, and I'm going to create a little relative offset and make a count across the roof. Do a bit of a, oh, I should have done the transform origin to geometry, so to the center. Lift it up a little bit, move it over a little bit. Okay, apply that, and then add a modifier again so I can have it go down the row there, and turn this offset to 0. Turn this offset to, I think it was -1.2. Yep. And then increase the count, and move this over a little bit. Now, in real-life installations, you'd have to remove solar panels that don't fit, so you don't always have an even number of them. They're supposed to face south, and I didn't make the building completely straight anyway. But I'll show you that once I've applied this, I can, this is just one big object. I can go into edit this object, and I can select this one panel that's sticking off with the C selection. Oops, didn't get that. Let me deselect. Let me try the B bounding box for this. There we go. And then I can hit X and delete all those faces, and I guess I have to keep doing that until I've got the whole panel. One way that you can make sure you get everything is to hit Z, which uses transparency. And if you do that, then it will get all the points that are underneath as well. And then hit X and get rid of all the vertices. Now that solar panel is gone. All right, and then I can get out of that, get out of Z. And of course, there's a problem here, Houston. The panels are way up in the air, so I need to drop them down. Like that. Check it now. Yeah, it's okay. Now you're probably wondering about this really weird wall that's messed up. You can also go into this and hit Tab to edit, and you can try to edit the mesh by going into the points and grab those 2 points there and bend them out so you can play with the walls. And you would do that using the Z to get in on these, and then you could grab all of this, for example, and hit G and straighten the wall out. There's a lot of fixes that need to be done from this quick sketch that I did. Like these here need to be pushed out a little bit. So you can certainly mess around with your model and try to bring everything that you want in. The question is, do you want to spend that kind of time? It depends on how accurate a model you're trying to make. So that's something that you can debate to your heart's content, how you want to do that. But there we are, solar panels on the roof. While we're at it, let's also go ahead and put in a windmill, and put the windmill proudly right on the top of the rotunda at Mercy College. That would be kind of fun. So let's select Mercy College. Let's add a, just put a color in for the fun of it. Instead of making it brick, let's make it a blue for Mercy College, a little bit darker. All right. So we know where that is, and we'll put a windmill up there. And what we'll do once again after saving is we will go to 3D Warehouse and type in windmill. And there's several different kinds. This one here is kind of interesting. That's a sort of traditional one. Windmill, windmill. This one looks good. Although actually, however, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to use an ordinary windmill, because Tom Simmons, who is the chief officer Chief Operations Officer, COO of Mercy College, when he was at SUNY Oswego, he installed the first vertical axis turbine on SUNY Oswego, and so he has experience with vertical axis wind turbines, and that's what he would probably put on Mercy College as well. And there's one right there. That's a cool one. So I think we'll go with that, or maybe something that's on a stalk. Let me see, make it a little taller. A little taller would be this one here, Urban Green Energy 4 kilowatt. Yeah, that's nice and big if you see the person down there. So I'm going to download this as a Collada file. But let me show you also, if you didn't know, if it didn't say Collada, if it just said SketchUp KMZ, you can use that. You can't use a SketchUp model, but you can. So let me show you this. I'm going to download the tower not as a zip, but as a tower KMZ. Show it in the folder. I'm going to cut it from that folder, bring it into our assets. I'm going to paste it here. And now a KMZ is a zip file that has a Collada in it, but very few people know that. So if I put tower.zip and change the file thing, then there's tower there. When I unzip it to here, I've got 1 day left for free trial. Okay. So I take it says models and doc.kml. You're not going to need the doc.kml anymore, so we can get rid of that. And it has its own models folder, but in the models folder is the tower. So I'm going to change this to vertical wind turbine and double click on that. It's got tower in there. So I'll go into my blend file and place my cursor here. This time I'm not going to bring it in to a separate file, although you normally should. Just to show you, I can bring it in here by itself, but it gets a little messy. So I've got the cursor there. I'm going to go to Import Collada, go into my vertical wind turbine, bring it in, and where did it go? Where did it go? Where did it go? Well, can't even find it. Let me see if I can do view. No. Did it go over where we put the solar panels for some reason?
Do you want a half of the pizza slice?
Yeah. Okay, it did not go in there. So I don't know where that wind turbine went, and that is one of the problems of bringing it into a model. It's there somewhere, I don't know where, so I'd rather then go into a new area and import it again into there. And now it should show up, but it hasn't.
Where is the Ferry Hills?
Ah, there it is. It came in. So it's better. It's better that you do it into a blank area so that you can hit A for select all and then hit period to zoom in on it and you can find it. It's probably in the other layer, but I don't know where it is. I don't want to bother looking for it. So now that I have this turbine, it says Lord and Burton Buildham Tower, so it has a name already, which is good. Although I'd rather just call it, I think that's what that is. Hold on a second. Let me turn it off and turn it on. No, not necessarily. The Lord and Burton Building. Because if I go to Lord and Burton Building under L and I turn it off, no, that's not it. That's not what we're seeing here. This is something else. This is make it active and then view, show active. This is mesh 30. And so if I rename that as wind turbine, that's that. But what is mesh 31? It's part of this mesh. And there's a problem there. We need to combine all these meshes because they each have a different part. Like that is only the stock of it. So I think what I'll do is I'll grab all of that and I will go Control J to try to join everything. And all those meshes now are joined in the turbine. Although blades, whatever blades was, blades is something else. Maybe blades is the one that's here. If we try to zoom to, no, it doesn't recognize that. Don't know what blades is. So zoom in on that. Oh, blades is a point in this mesh. Can we get rid of that without hurting anything? Yes, okay, so goodbye blades. And there's a point there that we don't want. Sometimes if you delete these control points, yeah, crazy things happen, like the windmill gets way too big. So I'm going to Control Z out of that. And let me see if I can transform the origin to the geometry. Didn't do a darn thing. So that is an element. That control point is an element of this. And it is controlling the size of the windmill to make it more realistic. Fortunately, it seems that when I click on this, oh, it doesn't travel with it. So maybe if I collect it and hit join now, Control J. If I get rid of this point here, it makes it giant. Well, in that case, I'm going to keep it giant and I'm going to size it myself. transform the geometry to the origin, put that there, and now make sure that that's all joined up. Now I have a windmill that's probably way too big, but that's okay. I'm going to duplicate it. And then I'm going to move it to the first layer. And go over to that first layer. And there's the windmill. Somewhere underground, maybe? Okay, that's very strange. There it is. Ah, it came up the landscape. All right, go to 7 and find the Mercy College building. Move it over to the rotunda. Zoom in and put it down on the rotunda. It's probably way too big a windmill still, so let's scale it down. That's more realistic. And we have a windmill on Mercy College, which is very cool. Let's see when we view active what it's called. It's called Wind Turbine 1. I'm going to make this Wind Turbine and Mercy. All right. So that's how you can start to populate your model with various interventions of things that you would like to see happen in the real world. And let's take a look at what this would look like when it's rendered. It's very dark, and that hardly shows up at all. The material is a weird material. Let's give this, it seems to have a transparency material. Yeah, it does. It's like, it is absolutely transparent. So we don't want it to be transparent. So let me see what we can do about that. That's the material that they've chosen for it. It's a kind of glass, weird glass transparency there. There is transparencies on. So if I turn transparency off, then it will not disappear like that. That should show up better. I don't know why they had transparency on. That's sort of weird. But when it's rendered now, it kind of shows. It's all made transparent for some reason. All right, that's very bizarre. They have this material too is transparent, and looks like all the materials they're using have transparency turned on. And I don't want that. So I'm going to turn transparency off, knowing that I could turn it on if I wanted to, but why would you have a transparent windmill? All right, that's going to look much better. Yeah, there's the windmill. And we can even change the color, I suppose, if you don't like the material color for the windmill. If you don't like that gray, we can make it a symbol of greenness and do that for each of the primary materials here. Let's give it its own greenness. Turn our gray to green.
Eat it now because it's warm.
So we're turning grays to greens for all these materials, except we'll leave the black black. And now we have a windmill up there. So the next thing we want to do is we want to be able to move around this landscape in a camera view. And that means we need to put a camera in. So we did put the sun in. The sun maybe could be a bit brighter, so we can change the energy. There we go. Of the sun. We can give the sun a bit of color, make it a more yellow star, not that yellow. That's a bit extreme. Or give it a sort of bluish color. That's a nice warm sun green there. And we can also now put a camera in. And to put a camera in, I'm going to deselect that. I go to Add and add a camera. And the camera comes in, and the camera is super big, and it should not be super big like that. So I'm going to hit S to scale it, and scale it way down and I'm going to turn it looking down at the landscape. So let me start by, actually let me move the camera, 7 here. I'll move the camera to the river and turn the camera around and bring the camera down a little bit lower and rotate it so it's kind of flat. Now let's see what the camera sees. Now how do we see what the camera sees? You hit the 0 key and that shows you what the camera sees, but it looks like the camera sees nothing. Why is that? That's because of something called clipping. Clipping is to save memory. It's not going to render anything that is a certain distance from the camera, and it's always set low. So you click on your camera and you make sure that you have selected the camera icon from here, and then go down to clipping end, and it's clipping now at 100 units away from the camera. I've found that 5,000 units generally works. So now when I hit 0, yeah, the clipping works better. Let me go in again and go to rotate in the y-axis. And the landscape is still clipped up there, and you'll be able to see if I increase it, 5,000 more and more gets revealed. So you determine how much your computer can handle. 10,000 is the end limit, and that's the end of the landscape over there. All right, so now we're ready to start doing a fly-through because we have a camera, and that's what the camera sees. And to do a fly-through, I generally come here and split my screen into 2. And this one I will have the camera so I can move it through the landscape. And then note the timeline down here. It's set at frame 0 of the animation, and that's where the camera is. So I will go hit I and put location, rotation, scale. So all those parameters are captured as a keyframe. And then I'm going to go 3 seconds in, because 30 frames is